Power. Wait a minute. We're speaking the truth to power. Truth to power. Wait a minute. We're speaking the truth to power. Truth to power. Truth to power. Wait a minute. We're speaking the truth to power. Truth. Myself. Information, and lions. Welcome. Truth. Power.
This is Information Man and Lion's Den.
This is Information Man and Lion's Den. Welcome. We're here for a presentation to open up one's mind because we're getting into something real. And let me play something real for you guys. Why I go ahead and prepare to hit that up. And I'm going to tell everybody it's weekend time, baby. It's weekend time. I hope everybody's doing well. As you can see by the description, South Africa land reform. Everybody's been hearing about this in the news. You've got President Ramaphosa. You got my man, Julian Malema. Okay, I'm down with some Julian Malema. How about yourself, Lions Den? Are you down with some Julian Malema of South Africa, brother?
You know I'm ready for it. Julian Malema, let's get it on. Let's see what this guy's all about.
Julian Malema, that's right. Julian Malema, that's right. Let's go. As we said, you know what's going on in South Africa right now? South Africa has decided to operate on code. Those black folks are getting on code out there. Finally, our brothers and sisters are getting on code, and they're saying, you know what? The white farm owners who originally came here, I believe in the 1800s, 66, somewhere like that. We got some clips. So they're gonna get into this when they got there, what have you. The white farmers or the white folks that are in South Africa, they're the white folks that were kicked out of the Dutch countries. Okay, they were kicked out. They were the criminals of the countries, the Dutch countries that they came from. Okay, you had Australia, and we got reports that Australia is letting the white people of South Africa know that they're welcome to come to Australia, to give them permanent residency. Okay, but let's keep in mind, Australia is another country who has a history of being criminals themselves. The Australians, their ancestors were kicked out of Great Britain, if I'm not mistaken. And when they went over to Australia, what we call Australia, they went over there and they slaughtered the Aborigines. They slaughtered the original people of that land. They've been killing them. They've been oppressing them, just as they have engaged in over all these years and decades in the slaughter and the oppression of African people, black people of South Africa. Hell, it was Nelson Mandela himself who was in prison over 30 years. Okay. They imprisoned him, and all he was trying to do was do what was best for his people. Okay. Do the right thing. You know, I mean, Nelson Mandela, man, is such a beautiful man that he wanted to work to come to a resolution of peace. But what all they did to him was imprison him, jail him. And even when they were willing to let him out of prison, they let him out with certain conditions. You know, they wanted to try to neuter Nelson Mandela and not make him that revolutionary individual that he was, that his wife began to emerge and to evolve into more of a revolutionary figure. Okay. And so what you got going on right now is my man Malcolm X always says,
from your barnyard, those chickens will return that evening to your barnyard, not your neighbor's barnyard. I think this is a prime example of the devil's chickens coming back home to roost. The public.
Now, remember, it was one Malcolm X who said when President Kennedy was assassinated, he said it was the hens coming home to roost. What I believe is happening for the white people in South Africa, or they call themselves Afrikaans. I don't even know what that is, by the way, but I think that the hens have come home to roost on the whites of South Africa, who have actually benefited for years and decades from the apartheid system that was in place. And it's the same thing here in America. White people in South Africa are concerned that if black people are in power, that they will do the same thing that was done to them, which is they will be oppressed by the Africans, by the South Africans, that they will be mistreated. And so that's why you don't go around mistreating people, Lions Den. You don't go around doing people wrong. Okay, because what goes around, as we say in America, as we say in the black community, what goes around comes around.
Comes around.
That's exactly right. And so what you have happening in South Africa right now is an awakening. Okay, those black people in Africa are vibrating to their higher frequency and waking up and realizing we are the majority. This is our country. The whites that came over here so many decades ago, they stole the land. They were the criminals. They were the criminals of Europe. So they left Europe as criminals. They came over to South Africa, occupied land, took over. You know the story about Shaka Zulu, how they came over there and tried to befriend Shaka Zulu with the British Empire just wanted to colonize Africa, that part of Africa, control it. Okay, well, the Europeans have been there doing the same. They say, well, we're farmers, we're growing food, we're feeding the Africans. No, they're not. The African people, just like in Zimbabwe, the white farmers, the Africans have never gotten fat bellies, okay, and gotten prosperity off of white farmers or white people being farmers, okay? And this is the nightmare that I believe in here in America, that white people fear, that black people will rise up and we will become the ones in power. And out of that fear is the fact that they know that they've done certain horrible things to us, just as they have done to black folks in South Africa. And it's sort of that conscience of, wow, if I let them have power, they're going to do to me what I did to them. Well, the difference is that the white people from Europe came to South Africa and you stole land. The South Africans are simply saying, we want our land back. Therefore, you have land redistribution. Another issue, Lions Den, is that in the Constitution in South Africa, they have a constitution that says that you have to give compensation for taking land. And so that's the big bugaboo right now, because they're saying, well, they can't really legally take the land from the whites because under the Constitution in South Africa, you have to have payment. Well, this is what I say to that. The whites who have stolen the land, or their ancestors stole the land, they should have to give compensation to the black people that will get it back. That's what I say. And that's my opinion about it. because let's just keep it in mind. Chinese, they control China. Japanese, they control Japan, right? Why can't Europeans, they control Europe? Why can't African people, black people of the diaspora, why can't they control, and why can't we control Africa? Now, we know in all these different countries around the world, the diaspora of the world, we know that there are white people like the United States and Great Britain still manipulate and control some of these other countries in other ways. Economically, you've got the oil situation going on in the Middle East. And by the way, as an education, everybody out there, the Middle East is not really the Middle East. That's what Europeans want you to believe. The Middle East is just another part of the African diaspora. Okay? Look it up, study it, understand what that means. Okay? When you look at maps, Europeans make Africa look very small, and they make Europe look very big. When in fact, if you look at a proper map, Africa is the biggest continent in this world, and it's huge, it's vast. Okay, talk about that vibranium from Black Panther. It's vibranium, baby, all over it. So we're gonna get into this deeper and deeper, Lion's Den. I'm gonna come over to you. Get your opinions on a few things. I'm feeling very thunderous though, brother. Lion's Den, before I get into another clip, brother, what do you have to say? We talked about this earlier today, and we decided, hey, let's do it, baby. Let's get on this situation in South Africa with the land reform.
Yeah, welcome everybody. My opinion on this is that it's all started when in the 1800s. Remember when the South Africans, the blacks used to own the South Africans, but the Europeans, just like you said, which is formed by the Queen, and took over the South African land, and some by Kruger. Remember, they called the Kruger Ring at the time, when the Kruger Ring got all this money. And basically, you got diamonds, sapphires, all of that in the South African land. And the Europeans just took right over, take away all the black land and everything else. And also, remember, in the 1950s through the 80s, when apartheid happened, you got a lot of leaders like Stephen Biko. Remember Stephen Biko? Who, Stephen Biko, who's basically, I mean, that's when after Nelson Mandela was imprisonment. But Stephen Biko was the true leader until the South African police basically assassinated him while he was in prison. You know, when the South African government said that he died of a hunger strike, which that's also a lie, because according to forensics, how Stephen Biko really died was the police really beating him to death, and that's how he died. But then they said that he died of a hunger strike. So you see, and then a lot of South African leaders were either imprisonment or was killed by the South African government during that time. So, it's important for people to understand that now with the new South African president, they said, in other words, enough is enough. We want our land back. We don't care if you bought it or not. This is still our land regardless. They want it back. And I mean, whatever it is, it's own. So, your thoughts.
I'll let you know.
Hi, I'm Barack Obama. You're listening to Lion's Den and Information Man.
Well, my thoughts are, I agree with everything you were saying. The South African government in the past during apartheid, and remember in the United States, a lot of black folks in the United States, a lot of us were against apartheid. You had, R&B groups that were like saying, hey, I'm not going to do Sun City, not going to sing at Sun City, not going to perform at Sun City in South Africa because they were against apartheid. It took time. I believe Ronald Reagan at the time was also president. He didn't seem to be so against the apartheid. You know, where did they learn the system at? They learned the system from the United States. They saw what was happening over here with Jim Crow. That's where they got the system from. United States has always been the blueprint when you want to oppress people, mistreat people. Hell, even the Germans, when Hitler was alive during the Holocaust, they got a lot of their ideology and what they did from the United States as well. Okay, America has been a trailblazer in this sort of oppression. Okay, America doesn't have doesn't have their hands clean of this. Hands are dirty in this. Okay, because they knew what was going on. They knew Nelson Mandela was imprisoned wrongfully. But getting back to where we're really going with this, Lions Den, is that these same individuals that oppressed Black people in South Africa, put them in shanty towns, okay, put them on the worst land. These are the same individuals today in South Africa that are trying to claim that they are a minority, that they are the ones being oppressed. And that's just pure nonsense. And I'm going to go ahead and play a clip for everybody out there listening that should open up one's mind about what's going on in South Africa as it relates to this land reform as we go further into this program. So let me play this clip.
We declare Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa as the new president of the African National Congress. South Africa's ruling party elected a new leader today after a heated campaign that effectively split the party of Nelson Mandela into two camps. Cyril Ramaphosa, a former anti-apartheid activist and wealthy businessman, will take over the African National Congress and will almost certainly become South Africa's next president. He defeated President Jacob Zuma's ex-wife by fewer than 200 votes. The result is a knock on Zuma, whose popularity has plummeted under the weight of multiple corruption scandals and a flagging economy. Fed up with all the political dysfunction, one community group has been trying to do the government's job, but its white-centric mission makes that complicated. During the day, Willie Murray is a small business owner, but at night he clocks in at his second unpaid job as a patrolman in his rural neighborhood outside Pretoria. His family's home has been attacked numerous times.
You know, we had attempts, break-in attempts every other night. I mean, you fear for your wife, your children. There's always, the people close to you that's quite concerned.
Murray is an Afrikaner, a white South African minority descended from Dutch settlers. The violence he's dealt with and lack of police response pushed him to join AfriForum, a grassroots organization dedicated to protecting the rights of the Afrikaner community. AfriForum does advocacy work and provides basic services to its members, whose annual fees fund the group. Everything from landfill audits to fixing potholes. And right now, its membership is skyrocketing for a couple of reasons. Although Afrikaners were some of the main beneficiaries of South Africa's apartheid government, AfriForum's CEO says that today, Afrikaners are the marginalized ones.
They don't see us as part of the country. There was legislation coming to the fore that actually made it harder for Afrikaners to specifically get jobs in the civil service in terms of affirmative action measures. And then, of course, just people feeling voiceless in the society where minorities weren't taken seriously.
AfriForum also gets things done in a country where the government is failing. During his 8 years in power, President Zuma has presided over a socio-economic slide in South Africa. The economy has grown at only 1.7% on average. Unemployment rates are high, especially among young people, and only about a third of South African citizens graduate from high school. The country now has one of the world's highest murder rates. It's quite a compelling model that we don't have to necessarily rely on government to deliver. South Africa's premier institute on race relations also doesn't see a problem with AfriForum mainly serving white people. I think this is probably in a similar vein to, let's say, a Black Business Council or a women's group. And I think the more we drive the message of inequality being based around racial lines, I think it further drives everyone into their own racial silos. People are losing faith in the political system and the ability of government to deliver. But 23 years after apartheid, South Africa is still one of the most unequal countries in the world. white people hold a disproportionate amount of the wealth and land. And Afroforum's founding principle, protecting that privileged minority, has earned it a reputation as racist. The organization's been fighting that label since its inception, and it may be starting to change. Several Black community activists and politicians attended its recent anti-crime conference.
I've seen where they've actually gone and fixed areas where no.
Let me stop that right there, everybody. Let me stop that right there, Lions Den. What you heard there basically is you got a group in South Africa. They're white farmers. They're saying that they've been under attack. They also have formed sort of an organization to protect their land. They're getting a lot of political power. They're gaining a lot of political power. And what you heard near the end of that, near the end of the audio, is that you can always find a buck dancing, boot licking, step and fetch it type. At the end of that, you've got a brother in there from South Africa who, he's sort of thinking that this group means well, that they're a good do group because they go around the community and maybe they fill a couple of potholes here and a couple of potholes there and what have you. But these are the same people. If you ask most South Africans or African people, how do they treat you? They treat these people very poorly that work in their farms. I mean, it's almost like how it was on the plantation here in America. See, there's so many comparisons, contrasts, and comparisons that you can make to Black people in South Africa working for these farmers. Although they're getting paid, you can make the same comparison to Black people when we came from slavery on plantations and we went into Reconstruction. And from Reconstruction, you had a phenomena called sharecropping, where you had the same. You would still be a slave to the land. Although you weren't a slave anymore, you would work the same land that your master had you on, and they would give you a little bit of seed money, a little bit of seed to grow your crops, and you would be sharing. It's why they called it sharecropping. You would be sharing, and if you didn't make good with your crops, that same white man that was enslaving you or your ancestors, you could be in debt to him for years. And now you're trying to sharecrop to work off. You're trying to make money while at the same time working off your debt. Okay, so it's like you went from slavery to indentured servitude, which is what a lot of Europeans originally, when they arrived here to the world we call North America, they arrived here, a lot of them, in indentured servitude. Okay, they were the criminals of Great Britain, and they had to work it off, and then they could go back or go wherever they wanted to go. Okay, so there's so many parallels to what's happening in South Africa with Black people working in these fields for white farmers, and 9 out of 10 times they're making pennies. Okay, they're making pennies. All right, let me go ahead and go into our YouTube chat room. I want to thank everybody out there that's checking us out this early evening. Folks in the Facebook Live, thank you. Everybody out there in YouTube, we got my man Lee Johnson, one of our moderators. Let me read what Lee Johnson stated. His first statement, he said, when Trump blocked out, when he barked out that immigration, when he brought out that immigration, country sent their worst rapists and thieves, he was referring to his ancestors. They have a horrible historical culture of psychopathic. Okay, brother, I get where you're coming from. Europeans, when the Europeans came to this part of the world, they were some of the worst. Lee Johnson, Brother Johnson, you're right. They were some of the worst. They weren't the cream of the crop that arrived here, which is why it's not a coincidence that they began to orchestrate slavery and oppression against people here we call Black people in America, African people in America, because that they were already psychopathic type individuals who arrived here from Europe. Okay, the ones that arrived here and did a lot of carnage, and we already know what they did to the native people. They did horrible things to the native people here. I mean, all you gotta do is do your research about the Trail of Tears, how they moved native people across the country to the southwestern part of the country, from the best part of the country, which was Mississippi, the South, where you had fertile land for growing crops like, cotton with king. Let me go ahead and read the next thing. He said, white people in land that is not theirs are pathetic, entitled to the land, and people they ridicule, take, but never give back. Is they never gave back money. They never gave back the land they stolen. They never gave the African people of South Africa or any people in Africa any compensation. That's just the reality. And now today they find themselves as the minority. But as you heard in that piece that I played, even though whites are the minority in South Africa, they control most of the wealth in South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. So black people, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. Even though black people in South Africa are the majority and maybe in control of the government now, white people in South Africa can still control all the resources. They still control the land, which is very important. They still control the resources, and they have most of the wealth. And you're going to hear my man, Julius Malema, state. Now, Julius Malema is a part of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, okay, which is a revolutionary socialist political party in South Africa. This is the brother that I rock with him. I move with him. I like his style. But in America, we have a lot of brothers that say that they're revolutionary. We have a lot of brothers who walk the walk and talk the talk. But this brother, Julius Malema, is the real authentic deal. When you talk about a black revolutionary and you open up a dictionary, his picture should be right in the dictionary, brother, because he's the real incarnated deal of it. Let me go into, I'm going to get to a sound bite from this brother, but let me go into another deep, we're going to go deeper and deeper into this, folks, deep audio clip to open up one's mind about this issue. Let's hit it.
Parliament has voted in favour of new legislation that could see land seized from white farmers. Under the plans, white farmers would be stripped of their land with no compensation, although this does run against the Constitution, which would have to be amended. Here's what the man behind the initiative had to say about it.
The time for reconciliation is over. Now is the time for justice. We must ensure that we restore the dignity of our people without compensating the criminals who stole our land.
Julius Malema there is something of a controversial figure in South Africa.
He's talking about Julius Malema now. He said, you can hear him. He's sort of a controversial figure in South Africa. Yes, he is, because he stands with truth. He stands with the people. Moving on with the audio.
He has been convicted of hate speech, and back in 2016 he said he was not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least not yet. Despite that, though, the country's...
Let me stop it right there, everybody listening. See, there's so many parallels to what's happening around the world, to what's happening in America. And that they said that Julius Malema, because they said, oh, he engaged in hate speech. They're basically labeling the brother a black extremist, identity extremist, right? What are they doing here in America? They're labeling black people who speak out like Black Lives Matter, various individuals, let's say a Farrakhan, okay, a Louis Farrakhan. They're labeling people who speak out in this country as identity, extremists, right? Black identity extremists. Well, you got the same thing going on in South Africa. Here you got Julius Malema speaking up for his people, and they're labeling him the same way they're trying to label black people in America. There's so many parallels. That's why we can't ever say that African people are different from black people in America. Yeah, we got different culture, maybe different languages and Norways and fourways, but in so many ways, we're both dealing with the same sort of nonsense, but in just different parts of the world, different parts of the globe, okay? And I'm going to say this again. I'm not using the term white supremacist anymore because white people are not supreme to black people or anybody. Okay. You just have people that are racist and people that are prejudiced, and that's what it is. Okay. And that's the bottom line. They're not supreme to us. They're not supreme. Okay. I'm just going to keep that real. And I'm going to continue with the audio.
Former President Jacob Zuma has described him as a future leader. The rate of murders and violent attacks on farmers and landowners has risen in recent years, and according to official figures, 72% of the country's farmers are white. Earlier, we put the issue up for debate. People do not own land in South Africa legally. White people arrived here from Europe in 1652. They killed our people, they stole our land, they oppressed us. All the land they have is land that was taken from us by force, and in many instances by massacres. We all visited to South Africa, including the black tribes of South Africa that came from the north. That is well documented. They came in and they killed each other further land and took possession of the other black tribes. The first occupants of South Africa were the Khoi and the San. So if there is an argument who owns the land, that should be the Khoi and the San. The person like the one who is now my opponent is a foreigner in South Africa and a land thief. And in fact, talking about the Khoisan, I am Khoisan. He can't say my surname. Damn, ask him to say it. He doesn't. He can't because he's a foreigner. I even worried that Parliament is moving slow and politicians, we don't trust them. They are using this land thing as a political ball instead of addressing the issue. This legislation could actually be changed to satisfy the white farmers as well. There's a lot of corruption involved, and that's why the whole process of land that was taken from people living in the past and to be returned to them is not going as it should go. You see this unfolding in front of me. That is the issue. And, if this goes on, investment in this country would stop. People won't invest in the country, will go the same way as Zimbabwe. There won't be production, and then we'll have a rabbit spree in South Africa about food that's not available to the people of South Africa.
Hi, I'm Barack Obama. You're listening to Lions Den and Information Man.
Information is power.
So that's right. Information is power, folks. Always remember that. So Lions Den, you heard a little bit of that clip. You heard the guy talking about how the land was stolen, how the African people, black people of South Africa were mistreated by the whites, exploited by the whites. We know about colonialism. Okay, that was a big part of what happened in Africa was the colonialism. Okay, and you had World War I, which was over who was going to control the continent of Africa. And colonialism did terrible things to the continent, destroyed stuff. They took and never gave. These criminals, these European criminals that came over. What is your opinion on what you just heard?
Yeah, I totally agree with the guy that was saying that. I mean, it's really long overdue that the African people their land was been stolen since the 1800s, and then now since 2018, they want their land back. They've been fighting for that to get their land back for decades. So what's happening is that the people are standing up. They're standing up for their rights. And obviously that Julius Malema, in my opinion, is reminding me of Stephen Biko. Stephen Biko was saying the same thing, fighting for blacks getting their land back. And you see what happened with him. But this Julius Malema is going to be the leader of the EFF, which is, of course, the Economic Freedom Fighters. And he's leading all black South African people, along with the South African president, who's black, saying, listen, I will promise you, we will definitely get the land back, and all the white South African farmers, oh, well, and he's speaking for the people. And folks, so your thoughts?
I think Julian Malema is speaking definitely for the folks. He's like I said, to me, he's a revolutionary type of brother. He's speaking truth. He's not compromising. Now, let me just break this down. Ramaphosa, who is the new president, he replaced Zuma. Zuma,
right,
by all accounts, and brother Julian Malema, and I hope he gets a chance to see this video we're doing on him.
yeah,
Because I'm gonna be sending this footage, or I'm gonna be promoting this YouTube in South Africa. I'm gonna push it to South Africa, but let's keep in mind that Zuma was the president that everybody can't stand. He was corrupt. That's the report on him, that he was corrupt, that the country wasn't doing well economically under his leadership. Okay. And brother Julian Malema doesn't have any kind words for Zuma. He knows that Zuma was a corrupt individual. Okay. And now you've got brother Ramaphosa, who was a favored, someone who loved him, which was Nelson Mandela. From what I understand, Nelson Mandela, he was a favorite of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela took his brother under his wings, okay? And now he's the new president of South Africa. Now, Ramaphosa represents the ANC, which is the African National Congress Party, okay? And this is the party of Mandela, Nelson Mandela. This is the party in which Nelson Mandela was able to be elected in 1994 as the first Black president. You know, this sounds really ridiculous what I'm about to say. As the first Black president of South Africa. Here you got a Black country, a Black continent, a Black country. And Nelson Mandela was the first president of this Black country since he was in 1994 when he first got elected. And I think de Klerk, that Afrikaner Dutch individual, de Klerk, was the president at that time. You know how embarrassing that is? Here we are in 2018, folks, and Nelson Mandela was actually the first president of this country as it's formed today in 1994. I find that to be sort of very embarrassing, considering the fact that this is a country made up majority of African people. It just doesn't make any sense. So the ANC, the African National Congress Party, I believe, has kind of been at odds with the EFF. There's always going to be a difference of philosophy, political objectives when you have all these different factions and different groups. And I know in Africa, you got the Zulus, you got, like I said, the AMC, you got the EFF, which Julian Malema, he's the head of that organization, and he wants change, brother. He wants it now, not tomorrow. Okay, he wants it now. Let me play because they're right now, if I'm not mistaken, brother Julian Malema has been at odds with the new president, because the new president, Ramaphosa, he came out and it got all over the world. It went viral. Everybody's concerned when President Ramaphosa spoke of land reform, a redistribution of land back to the people that it rightfully belongs to. Okay. And he said that he got everybody kind of hyped up on that. And I remember hearing a soundbite where President Ramaphosa stated that if anyone is against this proposal, anyone amongst us, we should consider them an enemy to African people in South Africa. But now he's sort of, I don't know, maybe he's soft. He's being softened in his perspective. He's being softened because I've heard clips where he's talked about white people in South Africa who are unemployed, who don't have jobs, who are not doing well economically. And guess what? Black folks in South Africa are still not doing well economically. Okay. And you're going to hear Julian Malema talk about how certain marketplaces, before you had an open government now where you got rid of apartheid, areas where Black people had businesses, and now white people have kind of gotten in there and taken it over. And they're basically saying, hey, if we knew that it was going to be this easy for us and this better for us economically, we would have gotten rid of apartheid a long time ago, because we still got economic control, baby. So let me hear from a real revolutionary talking, Julian Malema. Malema speaks, folks.
One white fellow was trying to make a joke and said, if we had known democracy was going to be this nice, we'd have given it to you before 1976 to avoid killing of people. Why? It's very nice for them. They can now open Pick and Pay in Soweto. They couldn't do it in the past. They can now open ShopRite in Toyando. They couldn't do it in the past. And the opening of these shops in the black townships has led to the closing down of spaza shops and making those small black business people in those townships and rural areas more poorer. That's why democracy is so nice for white. They would have given it to us in 1970 had they known it was going to be this nice. Chief, there is no urban or rural land in our vocabulary. There is South African land. All of it must be taken, and the state must be the custodian of that land and reallocate it to our people, and preference given to the previously disadvantaged people in Bonyama Trust. That includes the land owned by Hosi Tony Ramaphosa, Otikulu Ramaphosa. That includes their land. That includes the land of our king in the Eastern Cape, who's in prison now. Talinje is our king.
There we go again. Julius Malema. Now, what he said there, and the brother's accent is real thick, but he's authentic. Okay, he's very authentic. If you didn't understand some of what he said near the end, he's naming tribes, man. He's naming the people who are the true owners of the land that the white Afrikaners, as they call themselves, are sitting on, baby. Okay, he's naming the tribal names. He's talking about their king of the particular region. There's a king that's in prison. Okay, their king who has royal blood. He stated that it doesn't matter if he's in prison. No matter what, he still has the royal blood in him. So look, that's what you got going on in South Africa. You got kings that are in prison, man. Just like Nelson Mandela was in prison. He's naming tribal factions who are the true owners of the land. He's talking about, look at how deep this is. He's talking about that you got Europeans or whites in South Africa that are saying that, hell, if we would have known that democracy was going to be better for us economically, we would have given, as he stated, we would have given you your freedom and gotten rid of apartheid in 1971 or 70, right?
Yeah.
Because he's saying that the whites are actually flourishing. So this is what Western news is only going to tell folks, that, oh, the whites are being slaughtered off the land. They're getting their land taken from them. They're in bad shape. They're poor. They're unemployed. That's a bunch of bovine excrement. No, they're not. No, they're not being, I'm not saying that, yeah, there probably are some whites that have had some things happen to them, but not wholesale. They're not wholesale being kicked out of the country. They got wholesale losing their land because they're actually economically doing much better than the South Africans who are native to the land. Okay. So,
yeah.
you know, and you're not going to hear the media talk about that. Now, I saw a clip that had, Fox propaganda. I call them, it's not real news. You got Fox on there. You got Glenn Beck. You got all these groups on there criticizing what's happening. They don't like what's happening. They don't like to see black people take their destiny in their own hands. It's the same thing that happens in America. When black folks come together, when we unite under a united front, there's always going to be someone to talk down to us, right? There's always going to be someone to say, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do this. Or you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
There's always that one person, right? And so what happens is that you get what I like to call, you're always going to find a black person. As Malcolm X said, every time a black person stands up and speaks out, you can always find someone like another black person who will try to speak up and discount what has just been said, right?
Right.
It happens all the time. And these are the individuals that we got to get rid of, folks. Okay. And let me play good old Sergeant Waters to let you know why we need to get rid of these types out of our community, because they're not helping us. They're holding us back.
They told me we got to turn our backs on this kind of living. Raise our rights to the chickens, alligators, cornbread style. We're men. Say this. I don't intend for our race to be cheated out of because of honor and respect in this world.
Woo, you heard old good old Sergeant Waters. See, this is what I'm saying. We don't need these type, man, holding us back. And I'm sure you got brothers or individuals in South Africa that are getting in the way of brothers like Julius Malema, who's trying to do something for his people. They're getting in the way. They're running around. They're selling out. Okay. That's the reason why I listened to clips today, man. I did my research. You got people who can't stand the mention of President Zuma, because they saw him as a sellout. They saw him as not doing what was right for the people, and they don't like him. Let me go over to the chat. We got my man Lee Johnson, a moderator in the YouTube chat. He says, natives who are all melanated of the earth, natural immunities to this disease of white supremacy. We are naturally designed to live in harmony with the earth. White people are anti-human. Okay, anti-human, he says. Well, brother, let me just say this. If you see white people as racist, if we see them that way, let's just look at them. That's what they are when they come to us with that racism, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't want to use white supremacy, because listening to my man, Real Brother Radio, you got to check this brother out, Real Brother Radio on YouTube. Check him out, Real Brother Radio. He said that we shouldn't use the term supremacy because there's nothing supreme about Europeans. When you use the term supremacy, you're basically saying that you are inferior and they are more supreme than you. So the term itself puts out a message that there's something supreme about Europeans, okay? And there's nothing supreme about them. They're just some Europeans that are racist, they're Europeans that are racist, and they'll treat you well, and you deal with them as they are. That is, they are racist in this way and that way and that way and blah, 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 blah. We know the history. We know that Europeans came here and slaughtered Native American people. We know that what they did to black people in America, put us in shackle slavery, okay? They denied the Frenchmen. Let me give y'all a little bit of history here that's going to knock your socks off, okay? There was brother Professor Jeffrey Leonard of New York University or City. He taught at New York City College, I believe, in New York College. And he did some extensive research, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. And he found out that the original statue of the Statue of Liberty that you see in the Harbor in New York is supposed to be a statue of a black woman breaking the chains of slavery. Because when we went from slavery into Reconstruction, the Frenchman was what do you call that? A person who's against racism or against slavery. Well, anyway, he was one of these Europeans that was against slavery, against, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So when he created his original statue, it was the statue of an African woman breaking the chains of slavery, saying to America, I'm giving you this gift because you have done something that is great for humanity, which is you got rid of your slave system and you have freed black people. So when you go to New York and you look in the harbor, it is not supposed to be a statue of a European woman. It's supposed to be a statue of a black woman in that harbor of New York. And most people that live in New York, even black folks, don't even know it. So the whole thing around Ellis Island, give me your humble, give me your brave, give me your immigrants. That statue in that area was not, it didn't have a damn thing to do originally with immigrants coming from other countries. It had everything to do with the freedom and equality and the justice of black people coming out of slavery into Reconstruction, into a new way of life. So we thought, right? And this racist government could not handle that. And they told that Frenchman, we cannot accept your design. We're not going to put that up in the harbor. You got to come up with another design. Now, that's the true history and secret behind the Statue of Liberty.
Information is power.
So you hear what I'm saying, Lions Den?
Yeah, I heard what you're saying. You know what? Julius Malema definitely remind me of Stephen Biko. This is why I was smiling so much, because he reminds me of him so much, because Stephen Biko at the time believed what Julius Malema is saying right now, that the land belongs to the people. And all of a sudden, you know, basically you got a lot of white, they call them to Afrikaans. Now, a lot of people want to know what Afrikaans is. It's the European version of, you know, they want to forcing black Africans to speak their language. And so, in which the blacks refused to do that because they felt like we're independent, we need to speak our own language. But it's like the South African government is forcing black people to force them to go get Afrikaans, speak their language, go attend Afrikaan schools, Afrikaan books, and the black Africans said no. And the South African people, black South African people said no. So the thing is that, you know, would you see that? I mean, and see, you see a lot of people are standing up now, is, you know, especially with Julius Malema. He's going to be the leader of the black people. You can tell by it said that this land is the black people's land. He said that, and he's saying that basically he really means what he says. Now, when it comes to, you know, about, like you said, Fox News and the Bill O'Reillys, the Sean Hannitys, when they said, well, you know, look what these black Africans doing to try to take white South African farmers and try to kill them, threaten them. But the thing of it is that they didn't do that. That's what the propaganda is all about. And also, you have to understand that back then, from the 1900s to the 1800s, excuse me, to this year, remember, in South Africa, the South African government, which is white-controlled South African government by the Dutchies and the Europeans, killing innocent men, women, and children who are believing in freedom of South Africa. And they was banning all all the leaders down in South Africa, from Stephen Biko to Nelson Mandela to basically a lot of South African leaders. So they banned them, put them in prison, or they basically said they committed suicide. They said they committed suicide, but they murdered them. But then obviously info that basically they are standing up for the people. And again, they meant what they said. They want their land back. So info, your thoughts.
Well, like I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother. Everything that you said was on the money. There's nothing that you said that I have an issue with at all. I just think the bottom line is, it's like Malcolm X said, the hens have come home to roost. White people are really a minority in the world. Europeans are a minority in the world. They are not the global majority, and they're feeling the squeeze. And what's happening is that they're feeling the loss of their power. It's the same parallel to American society when you had President Obama, you know, was in office, and a lot of the white people in America were going around, especially from the South, were going around talking about, we want our country back. We want to make, and that's why Donald Trump was able to get in office under this slogan of "Make America Great Again," because white people in this country, just like in South Africa, are concerned about their A, genetic survival, B, that we're going to be in power and we're going to somehow oppress them as they have oppressed us. So, and they're concerned about staying in control and maintaining control of everything. Well, that's what's happening in South Africa with these with the Europeans in South Africa, is that they see that things are slipping as things get better as things are improving in some areas for the people in South Africa. And even though white people still make most of the money and profit more economically, they still seem to feel that they are losing control and grip of control, which is basically the fact that Europeans don't want Black people in any form, shape, or form to be A, empowered, B, to be our own boss, to have economic independence of them. This is what's happening. And I'm willing to bet any kind of money that the American Donald Trump and his rump, Donald Trump will probably try to intervene in this situation. Being the good racist that he is, I think Donald Trump will intervene in this and try to put his 2 cents in. I bet you any kind of money. And the Australian government, if they want the whites of South Africa to go there, let them go there, because let them go there. Who cares? I really don't care if they leave. Let them go there. They don't belong there. But let's keep this in mind. Isn't it funny that where they originally come from, the Dutch, they don't want them back. I don't see any of these Dutch countries saying, hey, we want our people back from South Africa. Come on back here. They don't, you know why they don't want them? Because I'm making a good educational guess here. They don't want them back because they know that these are the people that are in South Africa, the Europeans that are there. They know that they're the criminals that they kicked out of their country in the first place. And they don't want that criminal. They don't want the criminals back. They don't want the offspring of the criminals that they got rid of a long time ago. And isn't it funny? Like it takes a criminal to know another criminal. Because you got the criminals of Australia saying, hey, y'all can come on and get over here with us because we're just like y'all. We're criminals too. We have a criminal past, a criminal ancestry. So with that said, brother, it is what it is. Let me play this clip by that Kai. You sent me some information. I got to give a shout out to Phil of the Avi Show. He did a story on this, and he inspired us a little bit here to do what we're doing a little bit because we were inspired. But hey, I support what Phil of the Avi Show is doing. Let me go ahead and play a clip from this guy Roach, and then play a clip from Alex Jones, who is despicable. And this is a guy. And this is a wake-up call to Black folks in South Africa. You've got these groups in South Africa. I think they call themselves Senderlanders, okay? And they are actually like what we have in America. They're like a Nazi, racist type hate group in South Africa, and they're talking about a civil war. They want civil war. They want fighting. They want carnage, okay? But here, listen to this little, this propaganda audio that this guy Roach, who I'm going to play, that was on Alex Jones' show, running off at the mouth. Listen to his little editorial that he's doing here, trying to make himself look like a victim. And these groups are very serious. They got weapons, Lions Den, everybody listening. They've got ammunition. They've got compounds. They're ready for a civil war. Same thing you got with the skinheads and Nazi groups over here that talk about a race war, which we as Black people in America, we better wake up. We better wake ourselves up. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Simon Roach, and I represent the world's largest non-state civil defense organization. It's called Safe Numbers in South Africa. We represent the white people of South Africa who are presently being told that they can expect to see a genocide against them. They've been told this by their own political leaders, the African National Congress of Nelson Mandela fame, the EFF Economic Freedom Fighters, Marxist Party. Many of you will be familiar with this anti-white narrative, this anti-white dialectic. The government ministers in our country are talking openly about a genocide against white people, a civil war based upon race directed at white people. Government ministers. Just a few days ago, YouTube published a video against whites, racism, all of these things with which you're familiar. It concludes with the words, "It's time to teach whites a hard lesson now." Can you imagine? Around about the 6th of April 2015 in Cape Town, our current president, Jacob Zuma, stated that all of South Africa's problems can be traced back to the arrival of whites in 1652. As one black man put it to me, "You know, Simon, in our ears, that means if you weren't here, everything would be okay. There would be no poverty and there would be no crime." It's an instigation. Jacob Zuma is also known for singing a song which goes, "Kill the farmer, kill the boer," and another song which runs, "Bring me my machine gun," implying the same purpose. This is our president. This is how we live. He's not alone, though, in his public agitation against whites. On the 7th of November 2016, the leader of the Marxist Economic Freedom Fighters Party in our parliament, Julius Malema, was recorded saying to a crowd of supporters, "I am not calling for the slaughter of whites." Yet, as another black man, a leader in South Africa, said to me, that means that he will call upon his supporters to slaughter whites. Indeed, Julius Malema told another group of supporters that when the EFF party assumes power, the Afrikaner white people of South Africa, who've been here since the 6th of April 1652, will be relegated to a separate status.
Information is power.
So you heard there, folks. You can hear him talking about Julius Malema. They really don't like this brother because he's not a Tom type of cat, man. He's just a straightforward, revolutionary type of cat, and they don't like him because. But you hear what he said, and they said it. The whites got to that area. If I'm not mistaken, in the 1600s or what have you, 1662 or something like that. I think I heard them say that in the background about them being there, that it's been, ever since they got there, it's been nothing but problems. And we know that ever since they, historically, from a historical point of view, every time Europeans have made contact with other people that are melanated in this world, something always goes wrong. And I've said it before. The Europeans end up with the land, and black people end up with what? The Bible, some religious text. They get the land, and then they give us a religious text, and then they bring those missionaries that come over there. That's why you got a lot of these missionaries that go to Africa. They go over to places like they go to the Polynesian areas, Samoa, and they prey on these groups of people by pushing the religion to sort of pacify them with the religion. And then after they pacify them with the religion, then they'll eventually take the land from them. And look at South Africa. The Europeans came over there. They slaughtered, they killed, they lied, they made treaties, just like the native people here in America got treaties from people like Thomas Jefferson and all these, George Washington type of wig wearing characters. And what happened? They got lied to. You can't trust them. You can't trust anything they say. I think it was native people that said they speak with forked tongue. You can't believe what they say out of their mouths. So you have to keep that in mind. History, I'm talking about history. History has shown this to be factual. So they don't like Julius Malema. They characterizing him as bad. You can hear that guy on there, Roach is his name. He's concerned. He's talking about, we're going to be the minority. We're going to be out. No, you don't have to be the minority. All you got to do is give back the land that does not belong to you. Hey, they're not saying that that white people have to leave South Africa. They're simply saying those of you that are sitting on land that is stolen from our ancestors, you didn't buy the land, you didn't purchase it legally, you didn't gain it by legal means, by righteous means. You got it from destructive means. You got to give up the land, okay?
Right.
And then you give up the land, and That's it. I mean, I really think that President Ramaphosa will probably come up with a proposal that they should be paid compensation because that's in their bylaws of their constitution. Now, I would say that my brother Julian Malema probably doesn't want that. Feels that, hey, they don't deserve any kind of proceeds, right?
Right.
I mean, and guess what? Julius Malema can make a big argument why that's a factual truth. Now, let me go on with another audio for the sake of our time. This will be more, this will be about the new South African president, Ramaphosa. He will be talking. And then near the end, he's talking to the parliament in South Africa. So I looked at the video and it's very beautiful. Black folks are decked out in their clothing. I mean, they're in that room, that parliament. It's all Black people in charge. I mean, it's beautiful. Imagine when you look at the White House or you look at the government at work, our despicable government in this country at work, and all you see is a sea of white people. And you'll see a sprinkle of Black people, like when you eat Raisin Bran, and when you eat all the bran, you get down to the raisins. There's only a couple of raisins in the bowl of milk. Just a little bit of sprinkle. That's what we got in America. But when I looked at what they had in South Africa on a clip, and I saw nothing but a sea of Black people in charge of some stuff, I said, now that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be, man. Okay. Just like if you go to Europe and you see mostly European people in charge of their government, well, they got a few sprinkle of Black folks over there in their government too, but that's how it's supposed to look. In America, our government should be more diverse than what it is. You should see more Asian people, Latinos, Black people, Native people, all types of people representing in our government to represent how America looks, but it doesn't look that way. Okay, because same thing's going on over here. You got white people in America don't want Black people to have any power and control, which is why they do everything to stop us from voting. Okay, messing around with voting and coming up with voter ID and all this other nonsense. So let me play this audio of the new president of South Africa, and you're going to hear Julian Malema be very skeptical of what the president of South Africa is really trying to do. Here we go.
Rose in 2015, unemployment has gone up and inequality has persisted. For several years, our economy has not grown at the pace needed to create enough jobs so that we can lift our people out of poverty.
Ramaphosa plans to grow the economy by 5% in the next few years by boosting the agriculture and manufacturing industries and offering more support for small business. Ramaphosa reiterated his commitment to land expropriation without compensation, a policy that remains divisive. He's also promised to clamp down on corruption, stressing the importance of ethical leadership. But not everyone is convinced.
And we have realized that the president does not have a plan. The president speaks about commissions, speaks about seminars, speaks about inquiries. He has got no plan. It was an important speech on marriage unified South Africans. It seemed to lack the very idea of what is the total change that we bring. The president promised more change, but actually delivered more. He has got no plan. It was an important speech on marriage unified South Africans.
I'm stopping it right there, and I replayed it because Julian Malema, that was him talking. He stated he's got no plan. So he doesn't feel that the new president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, he doesn't think that brother Ramaphosa has a plan. Okay? He thinks that he's back now. President Ramaphosa says that he's committed to the redistribution of land back to the people that rightfully belongs to. Okay. The question is, will they be compensated? Okay. Will there be compensation to the whites? And under the Constitution, technically, they're supposed to get compensation. However, there's a rumor in South Africa that they may change something in the Constitution. They may do this. Now, Whether it's going to happen under President Ramaphosa, I don't know. But I can damn well tell you, if Julian Malema was president, it would be 100% go. Okay? He would do it because the brother is committed to his movement, the EFF, right? He represents the EFF. And what does the EFF represent? Once again, Lion's Den?
EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighter.
Okay, economic freedom fighter, political party. And remember, Ramaphosa, as a reminder to everybody, he represents the old party of Nelson Mandela, which is the ANC. Okay, that's the African National Congress Party. Okay, and Nelson Mandela, as another reminder, was elected as president of South Africa in 1994. After spending all those years in jail, being oppressed, okay, by the same Europeans who are now crying wolf and saying, "We getting our land taken from us, and what we gonna do?" And the blacks are taking over, and they're getting power, and they're taking our land, and they want to take it. And what are we gonna do? And it's like, wait a minute, stop crying, because white people in South Africa control most of the economic wealth. So you guys have plenty of money to relocate yourself. Okay. Now you heard on the footage there where President Ramaphosa talked about unemployment being high, all these sort of social ills being high, right? Well, a lot of that was happening under, Zuma, President Zuma. That's why they don't like him. They blame him for a lot of the lows. But let's keep this in mind. It's not just black presidents or it's not just them that are at fault for this. You got to keep in mind, I've talked about this before, the United States and other European countries, they still control and manipulate these countries. Okay, they still control the economics of this world. Okay, you got the thing I told you called economic hitman, how they manipulate countries out of their resources. There's a man named John Perkins. Read his book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He breaks it down. He tells you how it works, how the United States is an empire, how we do many things to corrupt other countries. They create coups. They take control without little need of bringing in the army and having warfare. They control by economics. Don't tell me, just like what happened to Mugabe in Zimbabwe, you had all these sanctions put on Zimbabwe and President Mugabe, which is why he could never really do what he needed to do for his people, because of the fact that he was being sanctioned by the United States, Great Britain. Don't tell me that Great Britain still doesn't have influence and power in screwing around with their economics. Don't tell me that the United States doesn't have any influence on the economics. So even though Zuma had his problems, and a lot of folks in South Africa are split, some still like him, some don't like him, okay? Julian Malema definitely don't like him, okay? Don't keep in mind while we're focusing on these brothers that were in charge, white people or Europeans still are hanging behind the scenes, manipulating things behind the sines economically, because they're controlling the economics, which is controlled by what? The petrodollar, the oil cartels, which the United States controls and embed with. So just keep that in mind. But this brother, they just wasn't feeling him. And as you heard there, you had one brother in that footage that said that it was a good speech, but it didn't really speak to all the issues that a lot of the black folks in South Africa are really looking to hear. Right. And then you had Julian Mamami at that stating that it's some trickery going on, that he doesn't believe that President Ramaphosa is going to do what he says. There's a lot of delinquency going on. There's a lot of there's a lot of tricknology going on. So he doesn't have full confidence. The EFF organization in South Africa, they don't have complete confidence in even this brother Ramaphosa, okay, who was a darling child of one Honorable Nelson Mandela. Okay. So very interesting, though, Lions Den.
example of the devil's chickens coming back home to roost. The public.
Evacuate. I mean, because they're gonna get killed. And why not just evacuate?
No. Our forefathers built this land with faith in God, blood, sweat, and tears, Alex, and they built something beautiful. We will not go. We will not capitulate to the face of barbarianism. It's an unacceptable proposition. We will stand.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to die. We don't want anybody to die, but they're gonna die. They're gonna kill you and then kill themselves. You can't help them. You're standing in the area of the
We are going to stand if we are the last Christian nation in the history of the world that stands for Almighty God. We will stand and fight and die up. Watch us.
You hear that, Lions Den? That's guy. That's the guy Roach, who I played the first audio of him when he was on there talking about how he's a part of an organization for the, for protecting white people, and that's him on there whining, crying and whining. What do you think about that?
Why are they crying for? Why are they whining for? I watched you know what's in Cape Town, South Africa alone. That it cost info $2 to $3 million. And that's a house alone town. So my question to you is, if blacks can get the land, are they compensating with those $2 to $3 million to the white farmers or the white owners for that property? That's the biggest question, Info.
Well, you overheard, that is a big question. It is a big question. But you overheard him say these savages. See, when you hear, let me play that again. Let me play Alex Jones is the individual that has the website called InfoWars. And you know what? A long time ago, I will be honest, a long time ago, brother, I used to check out Alex Jones's website, right? I used to think that some of the stuff that he was putting out was factual. When you really break it down, it's all propaganda. It's all propaganda stories with no facts to it. He's just he's a conservative. He's down with Donald Trump. He's a staunch supporter of Donald Trump. He's the one that came out with the video called Obama-aception. He really talked bad about President Obama. I mean, he was the one, along with Donald Trump and many people in this country, that was pushing this narrative that Obama was not a citizen, that Obama was this evil individual, that Obama was really a Muslim, and he hated white people and he hated America, right? He was pushing that propaganda. Here we go. Listen.
I mean, because they're gonna get killed. And why not just evacuate?
No. Our forefathers built this land with faith in God, blood, sweat, and tears, Alex, and they built something beautiful. We will not go. We will not capitulate to the face of barbarianism. It's an unacceptable proposition. We will stand.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to die. We don't want anybody to die, but they're gonna die. They're gonna kill you and then kill themselves. You can't help them. You're standing in the area of the
We are going to stand if we are the last Christian nation in the history of the world that stands for Almighty God. We will stand and fight and die up. Watch us.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but it definitely is unbelievable, Lions Den. But check out what he said. He said, you heard Alex Jones make that reference to Wakanda. So he's trying to make fun. See, this is the thing. A lot of white people who are racist, a lot of these hate groups like Ku Klux Klan members, these hate groups, they hated that movie Black Panther to come out because it was showing, even though the Black Panther movie had its issues, I didn't like the CIA stuff. It had its issues. Okay. There was some issues, Killmonger represented American people. They kind of made him negative, try to make him negative. He's an African American. He comes in contact with African people when he's negative. Those kind of narratives is what they really want to push. But we know that Killmonger was really the real hero of that movie. But what they're trying to picture is that African people are savages, right? Because he said that they're gonna. What did he say? and this is unresponsible of Alex Jones. He said they're going to kill you, and then they're going to kill themselves.
Right.
And what that says to me, Lions Den, is that what it says to me is that if black people don't have white people in charge, if they don't have white people controlling everything, if black people don't have white people controlling the government, controlling the economics, that somehow without white people, we're going to kill ourselves, that we're going to savage ourselves, that somehow that white people are the only ones that can keep us in order, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I get from that. What do you say?
I and this is just so, and I heard the guy that was saying that my forefathers built this country. No, they didn't. Your forefathers stole the land, stole the country. See, this is what the white South Africans was talking about when they was talking about, well, this is my country. If you do something in my country, I will kill you. And all of this, making threats to blacks, which, by the way, your forefathers, your ancestors, your European ancestors came down to South Africa, stole their land, and killed innocent men, women, and children. That the land is theirs. So my question is that you said that my forefather built this country, but yet your forefather stole this country. It's a difference between building it and stealing it. So that's my point, Info.
You're absolutely right. But you got to understand there's a psychology to what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that psychology is that, as my brother Newsom says on YouTube, Keith Newsom has a show. He talks about the black people we operate off of a high vibration. We're connected to this universe, and what's happening is that as he's talking about as the planet is moving around the solar system, we're coming into a time where our higher vibrations are opening more and more, and black people, we are going to be coming into an awakening, or we are coming into an awakening, and that awakening will bring about a change. And that's what you're seeing in this awakening, is you're seeing a change come about. And that change in mindset is that black people around the world, because we're not the only black people in the world in America, we're all around the world. Black people are starting to get an awakening in which they're saying, wait a minute, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's time to empower ourselves. It's time to put the black man, African woman first for a change.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all they're simply trying to say. Look, it's very simple. The land was stolen. They're simply saying we want back the land that belongs to our ancestors. Simple as that. They're not saying you got to leave the country. They're simply saying we want back the land that was stolen from our ancestors. It's that simple. Okay? Mm-hmm. Simple as that. So we got to just keep that in mind. I know that they feel, as you heard Roach saying there, our ancestors came here, we built the land, our blood and sweat is in this land, and so we are indigenous here. They believe that they're indigenous to Africa. They really believe that. They believe that. Yeah. They have passion in that. And that's the deal, baby.
Well, my thing is that, he's talking about I built this land, my forefathers built this land. But then they forgot to mention that their same forefathers killing innocent men, women, and children, which of course they're black. They stolen their history. They forcing Afrikaans to children, black children that don't want to have nothing to do with the language. They try to force that into the children, and yet it's okay for saying, well, we'll build this country. That's my country. You can't force me to get out of this country. And yet you guys come in there, and all because of it's all about money, all about economics. You're stealing all the gold, the silver, the diamonds, the minerals in South Africa. Your forefathers did that. And yet you want me to feel sympathy of you guys saying, well, my forefather did that. I'm not going to go nowhere. This ain't about that. And they're not going to force you, just like you said, Info, they're not forcing them to move out of South Africa. They just want their land back. That's all. They don't want to force the people out of the country. They just want their land back. And for that, they were saying, well, they try to kill us and blah, blah, blah. All this is that they try to kill us. If I'm going to be honest with you, Info, if they try to kill them, really try to kill them, they would have been done that by now. And we all know that.
Well, brother,
seriously,
you're telling truth. If black people, if it was really in our nature to do something like that, I always wondered when you had black people on the plantations during time that black people were in shackle slavery. I always wondered because most of the food that was cooked in the household was cooked by the slaves. Right?
Yeah.
I always wondered, why didn't they just poison the food? I mean, think about it. If black people in this world really wanted to do harm to white people, we had every opportunity to do that because we work in your kitchens. Okay. Yep. We raise your kids. Most of the babies that were being raised in this country were being raised by black women off the nipple of black women. Okay. That's some history for you. So if we really wanted to do harm to white people, Europeans, we had many opportunities to do so. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody today looks at what's that, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and say, ooh, Colonel Sanders came up with a great recipe. No, he didn't. Colonel Sanders stole that recipe from a black woman. Okay. Yeah. His daughter came out with a dollar he talking about. So I'm saying black folks, with all the cooking that we were doing, okay, we could have done some serious damage. Okay,
definitely, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, black men and women were the first chefs in this country. Isn't it funny how soon as being a chef, being a cook, soon as money gets in it, soon as money becomes a part of it, all of a sudden, now you got all these different white boys that are chefs and stuff. They're making a whole bunch of money. Black folks been cooking all our lives. When we was doing it, there was no money in it and nobody gave a damn. But all of a sudden, I'm gonna tell you something. Anytime there's money in anything that we do, they will try to take it over. Let's see, jazz. Let's see, rap music now. They're trying to take over rap. Everything that we do, our dress, our style, our walk. Look at it. You got Justin Timberlake, right? Who, by the way, his career should be destroyed. Because black people should have supported Janet Jackson, and we should have stopped buying his music, his albums, and supporting him. But because his career has blown up, and Janet Jackson's career has not been the same. Okay, so like I'm saying, man, black people are loving people. We're very loving people. All we ask is that you be fair to us. All the African people are saying in South Africa is treat us with equity, with justice, and make a wrong right. Okay? Just like in America, black people, we deserve reparations. Okay? Whether it be that none of our kids have to pay a dime to go to college, that we get certain exemptions to go to, for certain things, whatever it may be, we deserve it. And America has not made us whole. And the black people of South Africa are saying, we want to be made whole. Give us our land. Land is very important. Land links you to who you are. It links you to your heritage. It links you to your culture. Okay. Land plus food equals culture. Land plus your culture equals the land, man. Everything goes back to the land because their ancestors, as you heard Julian Malema say, that's the land.
Julian Malema.
Yeah. Julian Malema stated, thank you, brother, for that correction. Julian Malema stated that there are certain tribal groups that are due that land. Okay? And it can't be argued with. It can't be debated. It simply is. It is what it is, Lions Den. So, brother, before we...
Hi, I'm Barack Obama. You're listening to Lions Den and Information Man.
Before we get ready to end this, brother, do you have anything you would like to add? Anything further?
I would like to add this. It's funny that you have conservatives like a Alex Jones, like a Bill O'Reilly, like Sean Hannity and Fox News since then about what's going to Africa, they doing this here in America, right? Put their 2 cents in and what's going on and whatever, but they don't really know what's really going on in South Africa. They just hear from the horse's mouth, as they say, but they don't do enough research on why, on Julius Malema and the EFF, and why they're doing what they're doing, why they saying that this land is belong to the Black Africans, South African people. They don't understand why this like that from the beginning. If they do enough research, which I know they're not going to do it, they just open their horse's mouth. They up there in the 1800s when the Europeans, the Dutchess especially, going to South Africa, like I said before, take the black man's land away from them and create their own economy. And that's why you see a lot of beautiful things happening today in South Africa, from Cape Town to Johannesburg through Pretoria. All these millions and millions of dollars that create the property owned by Black people. So, but yet the Alex Jones is telling the one of them, well, you're going to die, you're going to get killed, you don't get out of there. But at the same time, they're not going to do anything. And like I said, if they really like to do anything, it should have been. But unfortunately, they're not going to do it for it land back. That one, they don't want to put out. They want land back, so they want to have the equal share of the economy in South Africa. Have their propaganda as usual, saying, well, all the white Africa, all the white farmers, which is baloney, ridiculous. That's living in info. That's the world we living in.
Yeah, brother, you were fading out a little bit off and on there, but I could hear what you were saying, and I hope some folks were able to make out what you were saying. But it's that electronic sound again. It's the technology, man. I find it interesting that when we're talking about these sort of subjects, that all of a sudden the technology wants to act weird. And you know what my theory is on that already, brother. I just want to, before we come to a conclusion, brother, I want to thank everybody out there in the Facebook Live, listening to the show, listening to me talk to my man, Lions Den. You guys in Facebook, on my Facebook Live, you can hear me. But if you go and listen to the repeat of this show on the YouTube, you'll be able to hear everything that you probably can't hear from your vantage point there. Don't forget, everybody, to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Information Man Show. Go ahead and subscribe. I definitely would appreciate it. And make sure when you subscribe that you hit the bell, so that every time we do one of these live streams or anything that we do, that you automatically will get a announcement that we're on live or something of that nature. So definitely go ahead and subscribe. I want to thank my man Leo Johnson, who's been faithful. He's been in the chat room listening. He had a few good things to say. They were saying he was pretty raw in the things that he had to say. But brother, hey, I'm with you. Keep speaking truth. Lions Den, I want to thank you for us putting this together in the time that we did to talk about this issue. Fundamentally, I just believe that the people of South Africa, Black people in particular, they deserve to have their land back. The white people that live there, if they give them compensation, I think they consider themselves lucky, because I think President Ramaphosa may be favoring giving them compensation based on their constitution in South Africa, which says you must give compensation. Okay, even though the Black people who got their land taken from them so many decades ago didn't get anything in return, I think that they're going to get something. That's what I believe. They're going to get something. And I think they should get it and go about their business. If they're going to stay in the countries, do what they want to do, they're going to leave, bye, Felicia, just leave. Okay, Australia wants you, go to Australia. Okay, and Australia's got a lot of racism anyway, Lions Den. They don't treat the Aborigine, they don't treat the Black people of Australia fairly. Okay. They probably wouldn't even like me and you if we traveled over there. So let's just keep that in mind. Okay. Right. And if the Europeans or the Afrikaners of South Africa were so special? Why is it their own land that they come from, the Dutch? Why haven't none of them called out and say, we welcome you back home to us, brothers and sisters, with open arms? You haven't seen the Dutch do that, because the Dutch don't want them, because they, like I said before, they know that those Afrikaners over there are the criminals who left their country, that they kicked out of their country and did not want them. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind. Keep that in mind fundamentally, okay?
Information is power.
Okay. With that said, brother, we're going to put a crescendo on tonight's little mini show we're doing here. We'll be back on Monday evening to do our Truth to Power segment, and we'll be broadcasting that live on YouTube as well as speaker.com podcasting system. We'll be, of course, on Facebook Live as well. If all goes wrong, all goes right. Lions Den, I want you to have a good weekend, brother. Thank you for doing this with me.
Same here, brother.
You know, we put this together in short notice, but I'm glad you did this. You made great points. I thought that the sound clips, I hope the sound clips that I played, Black folks, was on point. And I'm going to definitely send this information out to South Africa, to the people there, because I think that brother Julian Malema is on, that brother is on fire. I love what he talks about. Here he is. Here's the brother again.
One white fellow was trying to make a joke and said, if we had known democracy was going to be this nice, we'd have given it to you before 1976 to avoid killing of people. Why? It's very nice for them. They can now open Pick and Pay in Soweto. They couldn't do it in the past. They can now open ShopRite in Toyandou. They couldn't do it in the past. And the opening of these shops in the black townships has led to the closing down of spaza shops and making those small black business people in those townships and rural areas more poorer. That's why democracy is so nice for white. They would have given it to us in 1970 had they known it was going to be this nice. Chief, there is no urban or rural land in our vocabulary. There is South African land. All of it must be taken, and the state must be the custodian of that land.
You heard him say that all that land belongs to South Africa. It belongs to black people, African land, and that it should be taken by the state, as they are the custodian of the, they will be the custodial controllers of the land, and then it should be redistributed to those that have been wronged and had the land taken from them. That is fair. And if they compensate the Europeans that are there, like Afrikaners, if they compensate them, so be it. Do I feel they should personally?
Yeah.
No. But if they do it, hell, they do it. With that said, we're going to put a crescendo on the show. Thank you, Lions Den. Thank you, everybody out there on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Go to the YouTube channel, everybody out there on Facebook at Information Man Show, and subscribe. Brother, powerful. I think I'm gonna have to get me I think I'm gonna have to download me a picture of Julian Malema and put a picture of him in my place, man. Hang it up high. Woo! You know what? I think I'm gonna do that. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna get that picture, blow it up, and put it right against my black background. That's what I'm gonna do.
I might just put Julian Malema on my iPhone.
Exactly.
Everybody asks, that's of South Africa. Yeah.
That's right. I'm gonna put him.
Remind me.
Go ahead.
I told you he definitely reminded late great Biko.
Oh yeah.
Rest his remind me him because he believes the same thing they're believing right now of all South Africans. They have a right for that land.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah. Lions did
give him compensation.
Exactly, brother. You're kind of cutting in and out. Once again, I don't know if it could be your. I really think it might be your phone or something. Is because I can you hear me clear?
Clear.
Can you hear me clear? Lions?
Very well.
That's what I'm saying. I'm using Lions Den.
Hello.
I can hear you, brother. Just listen to me right now, brother.
Okay.
No need to say hello. I'm just simply saying to you that I think it could be something with what you're using. Okay, that's making that robotic sound because I'm coming out clear. It could be something like that. We're gonna have to figure it out. But I can hear you. You're making good points, brother. But sometimes there's some things that are muffled, unfortunately. And we're gonna have to see what we can do to rectify that, brother, because you got a lot of good things that you're saying, and we got to get that. We got to be able to get that out to the public. And it's just the technology, man. The technology is always acting weird like this. But I want to thank everybody out there for listening to us. Lions Den, you're absolutely right, brother. Go ahead and do what you're going to do. I got to figure out a way to get his picture so I can download it and enlarge it and put it on my black background. I got to put some color on my black background, put a little accent on it. And I think I'm going to put my man Julian from South Africa of the EFF on my background. Okay. And make sure you check out the thumbnail that I'm going to put on this video on the YouTube. I got a beautiful thumbnail of one Julian Malema. Beautiful thumbnail of that brother. Close up, hands up like this. Watch, as soon as we finish this, I'm gonna pull up the thumbnail on it. Beautiful thumbnail. Once again, I'm gonna warn the people of South Africa, the black people, beware of this Sunderlander group. They are a militant, militia type group, okay, hate group that wants there to be a civil war, and they are prepared. They have weapons. They have a compound. Lions, then I think when you hit your thing, I'm hearing like this sound. So
it could be my microphone, but go ahead.
Yeah, but don't tap the microphone, brother, because I'm hearing the feedback from that. Let's just we'll do a test after the show is over and see if we can figure out what's going on. But so, brother, when I stop this, I want you to stay online, so don't go offline. When I stop this, we'll still be online. I want to talk to you. But with that said, black folks in South Africa, you're going to have to watch this Sunlander group. This Sunlander group is a real militant group that you all know about. I hope that you do. They mean business. They got weaponry. They're building up a fortress. They're trying to create a war. Okay? They're telling you right now they ain't giving up their land. No time easy. That guy Roach, he says, I'm a landowner. All right. So please, black folks in South Africa, black folks around the world, take heed to these groups. We got them in America. You saw what happened in Charlottesville. They were saying blood and soil. They killed someone in Charlottesville. These groups are real, man. These groups are not playing games with us. And we're going to have to wake up to this reality. With that said, everybody, have a good night. I'm going to play a little something for you folks that you might like. Hannibal is ranked number 6 as the greatest military general in the world. And when I was watching this, they tried to portray Hannibal as a European. No, Hannibal was a black man, one of the greatest generals that ever lived. I hope you enjoy this as I end it with the music, and I'll get Lions Den, stay online here because I got to talk to you, brother. Everybody out there, thank you for supporting me. This is Information Man and
Lions Den.
Next in our countdown is a great military dictator at number 6. The man famous for leading elephants across the Alps, Hannibal.
He is one of the greatest generals of all time, which means he deserves a place in our top 10 list.
In the 3rd century BC, the North African Republic of Carthage, what is modern-day Tunisia, was at war with Rome. Hannibal's father was a general in the Carthaginian army. He had fought the Romans for 40 years, but eventually suffered defeat. This humiliation fueled an obsession for revenge in Hannibal. When his time to command the army came, he made it his mission to wipe out Rome for good. He planned an audacious attack. His army included 90,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and even 40 war elephants.
Hannibal was the master of surprise. He built giant rafts on the River Rhone to carry his famous elephants. And he did the unthinkable. He marched into Italy, over the Alps, elephants and all, totally surprising the Romans.
Leading his army over the mountains was an astonishing achievement, but it was his victories on the battlefield, once in Italy, that made him such a great commander. In the first 2 clashes, he routed the Romans. And he used his war elephants to do it.
2 battles, 2 bloodbaths. In each case, Rome loses 3/4 of her army. This has never happened to the world's leading superpower.
Rome's response? It raised its biggest army ever. 90,000 fighting men. The next battle would be a monumental clash. The Battle at Cannae.
In this battle, Hannibal lost about 4,000 men. The Romans up to 70,000. This was one of the bloodiest battles in history.
The Romans should have crushed Hannibal, but he used one of the greatest battlefield maneuvers in history, called the pincer movement, simultaneously attacking both sides of the enemy. This strategy was to define Hannibal as one of the greatest tacticians of all time.
This is the worst defeat the Romans had ever had. We've got to look forward 2,000 years later to the battlefields of World War I to even see that level of carnage. And remember, this wasn't guns. This was slashing, stabbing, bloody hand-to-hand combat.
Hannibal went on to occupy much of Italy for 15 years, but failed to take the biggest prize of all, the city of Rome. He had won the battles, but ultimately lost the war.
In the end, like Cleopatra, Hannibal poisoned himself rather than face Roman capture. He had no intention of giving the Romans 1 inch of satisfaction.
Hannibal's victory at Cannae had far-reaching effects. Rome lost its status as a fighting power, but ultimately it led to the Roman military being transformed into a professional force, and they even adopted Hannibal's strategies for their own.
Hannibal defeated the Romans in their own backyard. His tactics were so good that they're still being studied in military academies around the world. I can't think of a better endorsement for a combat leader.
Hannibal was one of Rome's most feared adversaries, but he wasn't the only tormentor to threaten its authority. Our next
These shops in the black townships has led to the closing down of spaza shops and making those small black business people in those townships and rural areas more poorer. That's why democracy is so nice for whites. They would have given it to us in 1970 had they known it was going to be this nice. Chief, there is no...
Information is power.